So my research focuses on women in law and across the continent of Africa. My name is Jarpa Dawuni. I'm an associate professor of political science at Howard University, based in Washington, D.C. I describe myself simply as a lawyer by training, a political science professor, and a social entrepreneur by passion. And what I mean is that I come from a very interdisciplinary background with a degree in law, a master's in international development, and then a PhD in political science. And what puts together all of these degrees I have is my interest in women and gender issues. So in everything I do through my research and my advocacy, I look to see how I can combine my theoretical training with the practical experiences I have gathered over the years to help advance the narratives on women and girls. And in particular, my focus, my research and my advocacy focuses on women from the continent of Africa, and that is where my research is housed. So my research focuses on women in law and across the continent of Africa. And I'm always cautious to say that when I'm talking about Africa, I'm talking about a very huge place, very heterogeneous, over 54 nation states. So one cannot definitely claim to be an expert across the continent. But because of the current etymological use of the word Africa as if it was a country, I tend to shy away from that usage by including words like across the continent of Africa or perspectives across Africa. My current research at Iméra is to complete a book project on women in law, and I call it Women in Law Perspectives Across Africa. This is based on research that I have been doing for the past 8 years, building the field of work on women judges specifically. But with this particular book, I am expanding it to focus on women as lawyers and also women as academics. I have conducted field work in 7 countries where I went and did interviews with women in law in order to gather their lived experiences, because I think it's important for us to use the voices of the people we write about in centering their lived experiences in order to construct the theories and explanations that we use in developing these new theories. Having done this work for the past 8 years, I have produced 4 edited volumes of women judges in Africa. I realized that a lot of the studies I have done and others have done in that field tends to borrow heavily from Western theories, which, yes, they may have some explanatory power, but they don't always have that power. So with this book project, I am building on a theory that I initially constructed called matrilineal feminism, that looks at the presence of matrilineality or matriarchy in African cultures and how that matriarchy, which really means the power of women in decision making, in holding their communities together, how we can use matriarchal systems to explain the entry of women into law, their presence, their experiences, and most importantly, the ways in which women in law across the continent of Africa have been able to push through the institutional challenges to rise to top leadership positions. That is something we often don't hear about, and it is time to deconstruct this idea of women's passivity and to showcase the strong voices that we have on the continent. So with my current research, or my fellowship here at Iméra, it's been really amazing. It's given me the time I need to really sit down and think through how I'm putting together my field work into existing scholarship and then building up on that to develop my theory of matrilineal feminism. At Iméra, I am the chair of the interdisciplinary program on sustainable development. And within this field, like I said initially, my background is very interdisciplinary, so I'm drawing on all that training I have. One of the ways in which I'm situating my study also is to look at this development of what is called storytelling. And in as much as it's now gaining a lot of momentum, storytelling has been a critical part of the African existence. Whether we call it storytelling or narrative positioning, which initially was pushed against by the gatekeepers of knowledge production, saying that it wasn't theoretically informed, it was too subjective. But we see more and more that now there's a lot of global advocacy for storytelling, and that is an indigenous part of the African systems and ways of being. So as an interdisciplinary program, I am also using storytelling as a technique in my writing. But I build it or situate it within the discourse on legal narratives, which is what Black feminist theorists and Black critical studies theorists in the United States use legal narratives as a way of centering the voices of people who were not included, which is Black people in the United States. So I'm using legal narratives as a technique of storytelling in my work. So being at Iméra has been amazing. It's allowed me the time to sit down and think. Most importantly, it's also allowed me the opportunity to engage with scholars from different parts of the world in different disciplines. At Iméra, we have the Community Building Seminars, CBS, which has been an amazing opportunity to engage and hear the research of other scholars, whether it's from psychology or arts or anthropology, something that I really normally would not attend. But I've been able to sit down and hear from other people and see ways in which I could even connect with some of these scholars. And we've had conversations and just amazing ideas have come up, which I'm hoping to build on once this book is over, to see how we can collaborate with one another.